This anime speaks to me. I'm a massive fan of Power Rangers and comedically large witch hats, so this fusion of Isekai fantasy and Super Sentai tropes played completely straight is perfection. Every other scene had me like this, so I just wanted to highlight some of those references. Let's get into it. The anime actually opens up on a battle between the Kizuna 5 and Zetsuen O. They're not doing too well, but our protagonist, Togo Asagaki, also known as Kizuna Red, is ready to even up the score. So he rushes in, quite literally powered by friendship by the way, and sacrifices himself to ensure victory for his team. Though it turns out his death is less than permanent, as this just leads to him being isekai'd.
6 months later.
And then we get hit with a 6 months later transition, so they're wasting no time, neither am I. Let's talk about what he reminds me of. Same energy. Big fan of Mashin Sentai Kirameasure. It was one of the things I got to enjoy, when the world kind of stopped for a bit. It also plays the Sentai tropes completely straight. And, looking at the timeline, there may be some inspiration there. And as for similarity, Kirame Red has that special brand of shonen simplicity. Like, he had a lot of growth to do. I think if the average Red Ranger were a character in an isekai, they'd be like a cool side character, maybe a mentor. Kirame Red was a good leader, but he led through empathy. Like, he kind of played support. He boosted his team, and he was the heart of the party. I love him. He's a gem. But you can see how I draw parallels between him and this Red Ranger, Kizuna Red, who's literally powered by friendship. I mentioned Kirame Red's growth, but what's cool about Kizuna Red is that he's end of series. Since he was isekai'd in his final battle, this is kind of all a new game plus for him. So shortly after his 6 months later title card, he meets and befriends a mage named Idra. And her stats are set up how you might imagine from a fantasy isekai or from a JRPG. But Red's stats are set up like Toku promo material. So this promo is from the currently airing Super Sentai season Gojuger, and you can see the similarities between this and Kizuna Red's stat splash. Actually, I'm gonna pull up a rough translation while I yap for a bit. So as of this recording, I've yet to see this. I'm not gonna miss it. This is for the 50th anniversary. That's crazy. I like how it lined up though in coming out with this anime. Something I'm noticing though is these suits, they're really cool and obviously an homage, but the trim, it's kind of reminding me of the Kizuna 5 a bit. And their suits are like this cool happy medium between Super Sentai and Kamen Riders. And actually, I'll transition to my next point there. So his stats are actually set up more like a Kamen Rider's when it comes to punching or kicking power and the like. These are so fun to look at. They're like JoJo flavor text. They actually even show like the point that this rider would be. And I think that plays nicely into the New Game Plus aspect, because looking at these stats, I mean, like he outclasses that by quite a bit, right?
Shining jump! Authorized.
So with how smooth the timeline matched up for Kirameasure, I wanted to check out the main rider of the time as well. And like I mentioned, you can see the point they were at. So we can kind of map his New Game Plus right around Shining Hopper, minus jump. I'll link these somewhere. Like I said, these are really fun to look at. And while Kamen Rider is fresh in my mind, I'll transition over to Ranya, the Kamen Rider. Her design is so rad. She's a Sphinx, and to my knowledge, there's not an Egyptian-themed rider at all. There is a Sphinx I'm thinking of, but he's like a monster of the week in Kamen Rider Wizard. I'm editing. I was looking up the Sphinx and Maji Ranger came up, and I wanted to point out that Togo's civilian outfit kind of resembles Maji Red. All right, that's it. Later. Which also, I love Kamen Rider Wizard. That also fits really well with this fusion of Isekai fantasy and Super Sentai stuff, right? But anyway, this is about the references. So, beyond being a literal Amen rider, her driver is voiced by Mark Okita.
Legend! Finish us! Sufi Sphinx! Punch up!
But more on that later. Her medals are also a clear homage to O's. So beyond this, she has all the hallmarks of being a rider, be it the henshin sequence, multiple forms, or the ability to summon a motorcycle. But my absolute favorite was seeing her go for the rider kick. It's so intrinsically ingrained into so many things I'm a fan of. It was a matter of if, not when, for this anime. Location, location, location. If you've seen Toku anything, you'll recognize these, honestly, maybe even if you haven't. I'll start with Mount Iwafune because it's so nostalgic. So as a kid, this signified Power Rangers going from Saved by the Bell to Godzilla. In this anime, you can see it in the Kizuna 5 roll call. My favorite scene with this location would have to be the Legend War in Gokaiger, just because I was so blown away by the promo material when it first came out. Next up is Mizuno Hiroba Park. We see a few battles take place here involving Kizuna Red and Blue. And close enough nearby that battles can spill over to or from it is Yume no Ohashi Bridge. Saitama Super Arena is another really common one. In fact, all the locations I've listed so far, I'm not editing yet, but I guarantee all of these have been in a clip from something in this video. For sure, no doubt. And I'll go ahead and add this here, it feels relevant. So throughout a lot of these locations, we see the villain Bonso Killer, and his mech is designed by Shoji Kawamori, who's known for a lot of things. But let's focus on this one. A lot of anniversaries. Happy 20 years, Aquarium. Alright, I'm kinda shocked it took me this long to get here, but Mount Iwafune is like pyrotechnics world, so let's talk about explosions. So the series very much acknowledges explosions, which is so funny because I don't know, it's so second nature to me at this point. I can think of this being acknowledged in the unofficial, official Sentai Akiba Ranger. They'll acknowledge them to the point that with this genre blending, they can be a detriment. Like RPG fashion loot drops, right? They can get blown up. Power Rangers RPM also makes reference to them.
Sometimes when I morph, I can't help but notice this gigantic explosion right behind me for no apparent reason.
During the
I'm referring to the 6-story high fireballs like that one, right there. Could that happen to me in the kitchen or something?
And honestly, while I'm thinking about RPM, their Sentai counterpart, Goonjer, has a lot of parody energy itself. Also, they showcase some pretty good bonding with anime and toku stuff at the time as well.
これからも日朝キッズタイムをよろしくね。
Okay, so it's slightly out of order, but I trust my thought process. So the episode that featured Aquarian also has a lot of other references, and I'll just tackle that whole episode now. Okay, so I love how this was handled. It's basically a Banso Sentai Kizuna 5 episode, complete with their own very Sentai-coded intro. It's told through a flashback because Togo's trying to comfort Ranya, and it very much feels like a Sentai plot. I'm not going to go over the whole thing in a video like this, but basically it's like his adopted brother is Bonso Killer that I was telling you about, so he has to summon the power of friendship and smack some sense into him, you know? Anyway, though, this is about the references, and there are cameos on cameos on cameos, so let's get into it. So throughout this episode, we can see Red, Yellow, and Usada Lettuce from Go Busters, the team from Jetman, Blue and Red from Kaku Ranger, the commander Kurama Tetsuzan from Battle Fever J, Blue from Lupin Ranger, Yellow and Pink from Deca Ranger, Crane Juto and Kiji Brother from Dawn Brothers, Takeshi Kido and Kentaro Shiratori from Chojin Bottom 1, Sasord from Kamen Rider Kabuto, the team from Mega Ranger, Changeurion, the Blader, and Akemi Tachibana from Changeurion, Agito and Gills from Kamen Rider Agito, Fize and Kaiza from Kamen Rider Fize, and finally making his Stanley-esque appearance is Toshiki Inoue himself. He also wrote this episode, and yeah, that tracks. Okay, and of course to accompany all of that, there was lots of voice cameos as well. And there's a lot of that. I will say that the Kizuna 5 all share voices with former Senshi. Kizuna Blue is voiced by Mega Blue. Kizuna Yellow is voiced by Deca Pink. Kizuna Green is voiced by Ninja Blue. Kizuna Pink is voiced by Yellow Buster. Now, their main villain, Zetsuen O, or the Breakup King, is voiced by Joji Nakata. And he's like a 5-star decorated Tokusatsu veteran, from Monsters of the Week to Big Bads to the narrator in O's. I also want to highlight another channel that handles voices more as the main topic, and it's very detailed in case you're interested in any of the other characters. I'll link that down somewhere. And as for English, right? I don't know if it had to do with the strikes or scheduling or whatever it may be, but not having Johnny Bosch in this is crazy, right? I know it's not just me.
Adam, what's wrong?
I'm a frog.
Like the one you kissed to get a handsome prince.
Yes, a frog, like the one you kissed to get a handsome prince.
He kisses me, right? What does that mean? So when I'm fighting, I'm hoping that they're gonna kiss me?
Did I miss anything massive? I know I went on tangents and just trusted the process, but if I did, let me know and I'll catch you guys later.